Please listen carefully.
Welcome to Podchassis. It's a show where it gets to deliver whatever we want to talk about. We'll work on that one.
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
We got
it.
Got it in one. Perfect. Today.
Good morning.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good night, or auf Wiedersehen.
Good after yesterday's noon.
Oh, yo. I think you're right.
It's always after yesterday's noon.
Yeah?
Yeah. So that's a universal time reference.
It's also always after yesterday.
It's always after yesterday. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today's a gift. That's why it's called the present.
Yo, I love the never-ending story.
Have you seen any of those? That's a franchise, right? That's not just one movie. There's like 3 of those.
I don't know, man.
I think there's like 3 never-ending story movies.
That's a different movie.
All I remember is like Appa, but on weed. You know, Appa after 2 smokes.
Is that a YouTube poop?
No. The main creature from Neverending Story is this giant white fluffy creature with like horns, and I always thought it was like Appa but with 1 smoke.
Okay, so fun fact: I have not seen the Neverending Story. Secondary fun fact: that's not what we're talking about this episode.
No,
we are not talking about the Neverending Story.
Well, now we are.
We are not talking about how it's always after yesterday.
I'm gonna look up how many Neverending Story movies there are.
Oh my god, that's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about one of the best movies made in the last 20 years. Gotta be a titan of filmmaking. It is Surf's Up 2.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called?
By the way, there's
Surfamania or something?
There are 3 Neverending Story movies.
Christ. Wait, what?
It's Surf's Up 2 Wavemania.
Wavemania. That's the one.
I'm gonna pull up a picture right now. Surf's Up. That's how you spell up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up a picture right now.
U-P? U is the upside down. It's like a bowl.
So I'm pulling up a picture of all the characters here. And I'm gonna see if you can't remember exactly who's who just by looking at their character models.
Okay, so Surf's Up 2 is a sequel to Surf's Up 1. So it features like 4 of the same characters and no more. And also it's
exactly
a crossover with the WWE, who appear as 5 animals who are a surfing team called the Hang 5.
Oh, yeah?
And the Hang 5 consist of
let's see.
Vince McMahon himself.
Do you remember what their penguin names were?
I think Vince's was
I think it was
Vince.
just I think it was McMahon was in there. I think it was V McMahon maybe.
Maybe. I don't think they ever called him by name.
I remember that there's like a bio shot at the beginning.
It stars Vince McMahon, owner of the WWE, whose whole bit is he's an otter? We thought he was like a bear or something.
I think he's a sea lion.
No, he's an otter.
He's an otter?
Yeah.
That's one buff otter?
That is a buff otter.
Well, to be fair, penguins aren't that big either.
4 of the Hang 5, Take 5 is a candy bar. 4 of the Hang 5 are super buff. And they are Vince, who is Vince McMahon, JC, who is John Cena.
That sucks.
Undertaker, who is...
The Undertaker?
Surprisingly, I know. And Hunter? I don't remember the real wrestler. I don't remember who Hunter is.
Before.
Those 4 are jacked.
Mm-hmm.
JC especially, because they decided...
And he wears these tiny little cargo shorts.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the only ones who wears clothes. In fact, he's the only one who wears clothes, because he wears cargo shorts and, like, horrible little elbow warmers. That's it. The rest... Undertaker has a hat. That's about it. And also, you have...
Do you not remember her name? It's Paige.
Paige.
Yes.
Paige, who is the female wrestler of the same name, who inexplicably they have made a tiny purple bird.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to gloss over how unbelievably insulting that is. Because, wow!
Well, she was really big in, like, the WWE Divas, I think, division.
Yeah,
you know?
which is
and
the
then,
female division.
But I think she had more than that, though. She think she
was near the top of Divas.
She was, yeah.
And,
Mm-hmm.
like, could hold her own against the majority of the men's division, too.
Yeah,
She was a solid wrestler.
There's an amazing movie we need to watch together called, like I mentioned it before, it's Fighting with My Family, which was written and directed by the guy who voices Wheatley in Portal 2. And it's an amazing like movie because Paige, her backstory and everything, she's British and so is that guy. So it's really great. I love a good like British comedy, and they're like Irish, so there's a lot of like drinking and Irish stupidity in it.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
great. There's a lot of like nuanced characters in it, which is a really great thing to compare to Surf's Up to.
Surf's Up to Wavemania. Like, so this movie, we saw this movie at the bottom of a list for Sony's
Sony Animation.
Yeah, Sony Animation's worst films.
Mm-hmm.
Worse than like what was it?
The Emoji Movie was like
worse than the Emoji
Movie was like 5th worst on that list.
And
it was what are those movies called? It's not Barnyard. Open Season.
Worse than all of the Open Season sequels.
Mm-hmm.
And Surf's Up 2 is at the very bottom because it was, I believe, referred to as having no redeeming value.
Yeah, it had no redeeming qualities, and he had to put it at the bottom because he couldn't even call it a movie.
Yeah. And like, we decided, okay, we need to watch this movie. Problem, how do we make this movie watchable?
Mm-hmm.
Solution, alcohol.
It's always the solution.
It is technically a solution by the chemistry set.
It's the best answer. All of the above.
It doesn't have to be a right to be an answer.
No.
It just has to be possible.
Yes, exactly.
So, we watched Surf's Up 2 while pretty drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And gotta say, when you are not forced to perceive every single godforsaken second of that movie, it is much better.
It is.
It is much more tolerable. Because that movie, it's bad.
It is bad, yeah.
It is hard to call it a real movie. I can totally see what that guy was saying. But I think as a preface before we get into the plot of the film.
Okay, here's a real challenge. Can you name the non-WWE characters?
Cole?
No, that's not his name.
Is that not his name?
The main character of the movie.
Cody.
Cody. It's Cody.
Yeah.
What's his like
got into
girlfriend's name?
Eileen?
I honestly have no idea. I know Tank is Tank was my favorite part of the movie.
I feel like Googling it is cheating. We can just not know, because she wasn't important. She was like so unbelievably not important to the plot, as was Chicken Joe.
Dude, she's like 7th. She's 9th on the casting list. Behind
There's like
Cody is 7th. All the WWE characters are listed first in the cast.
Oh, the announcer bird is probably up there.
Oh, so Vince's character's name is Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon? He couldn't even be called Vince. No, I'm Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, Paige is Paige.
You can tell how much of this movie is, like, got Vince McMahon specifically's fingers up in it. That dude's a freak and a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Mr. McMahon, if you happen to hear this, I will say this to your face. So, as a preface for the rest of this movie, we must establish this movie is gross and weird for a lot of its runtime. There is a full, gotta be 3 minutes dedicated to John Cena Penguin's pecs bulging with veins.
Literally.
While two different characters, one male, one female,
Mm-hmm.
swoon over him, like draping their bodies over his biceps, going, like it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And
This,
by the
along
way,
with
those are both the main characters of the last movie, who are just, wow, what a man.
This movie definitely
It's-
falls in within that category of, like, if you just take a look at it from the perspective of these guys trying to prove that they're not gay, it's the funniest thing ever.
Oh, it's
like,
so
those
funny.
character models are almost unexplainable from any other point of
Oh,
view besides that they're...
JC is built like a spinning dreidel.
It's
amazing.
It's literally comparable to how like modern day furries draw their characters.
So right.
Like you know, when they like over sexualizing
But it's
certain,
like
body
reached a
parts and
point.
everything.
It's reached a point of such saturation where it's no longer perceivable as like possible.
John Cena has toddler
functional.
legs and pecs the size of the Eastern Ocean.
Yeah, my dude is like built like what Atlas had to carry. Like it's awful.
John Cena is built like Africa.
He's super in. Vince McMahon's character has an obsession with fish milk.
Yes, fish milk.
And
funny.
One of our first introductions to that joke is a thought bubble in which he sticks a straw into the back of a fish. We do not get to see what is happening there. And he slurps on the straw. And then it zooms back out to, fish milk. And we are left going, Vince, buddy. Vince McMahon, owner of the WWE. I know you made this decision. I know this was you. Your fingers. Please keep your weird, gross things out of a children's movie. This is disgusting.
All of the WWE people are
This
just
is reprehensible.
They had to make this children's movie so they could express themselves.
Here's the thing. The rest of them aren't that gross. John Cena being buff is one thing.
Yeah, he's the only one
the only one that's gross.
He's the only one that resembles an animal, right?
Yeah.
The other ones might as well just be John Cena standing there, right? There's nothing penguin about him.
If you want to watch a movie with Vince McMahon's persona in it, this is the movie.
Yeah.
Because he chose an otter for a penguin-themed film where everyone's a bird. But he chose an otter. I would like to bring some amount of significance to that to Vince made a choice. Vince made a choice.
He had input.
He did. The girl one being small is offensive and gross for its own reasons.
She's the small. She's almost smaller than the Langley chicken.
She is small.
She's smaller than Chicken Joe.
She's smaller than Chicken Joe because Chicken Joe has a pot belly.
Because
she's smaller than the announcer bird.
Paige is ripped as hell.
Smaller than an in-universe seagull.
She could rip me in half. Yeah, she's strong as hell.
Rip all of us in half. She's amazing. She's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, so that's disgusting in its own sort of misogynist way. And then you've got The Undertaker, who is The Undertaker and is quite inexplicably played for laughs. Which is...
He gets Draxed. It's a Drax the Destroyer.
That's a good word for it. He gets Draxed.
Yeah.
And...
Before Drax.
Hunter...
Do you think James Gunn has seen Surf's Up too? Chicken Joe is Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, no, hold on, you're kind of right, hold on. No, hold on. 5 people.
Oh no.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Paige Gamora?
Paige is Gamora. Main character is, in fact, Star-Lord, because he's kind of a dick. I've stopped thinking about any...
Is McMahon Thanos? Who's left in the Guardians of the Galaxy? Groot? Groot is Undertaker? Groot? No, Undertaker is Drax.
Yeah. Groot, I think, is, maybe JC. not really a character, but there for emotional support.
Yeah, everything that John Cena says can basically be distilled down to "We are Groot."
Yeah, basically.
He might as well be saying "I am Groot" the whole movie.
Which is weird. He's a major character, but he sure doesn't say anything. He's just there.
That's because he's the biggest advertising that the WWE has.
Oh, they marketed so aggressively to make him the hero.
Oh yeah, well when you have Fred's dad in the movie, I mean, how can you not?
Also, Hunter.
I looked it up. His name was like Triple H. I don't know what that is.
Hunter, the character, sides with Tank, the villain from the first movie, and those two are such explicitly villainous characters, but they're not the villains of the movie because the WWE was like, we don't want you putting one of our guys in a bad light. You can't do that. And, well, we'll get into it, but they had to make conflict somehow. Their methods of doing that were not great, but they did it. But, yeah, this movie's gross and bad. Yeah. And should not have existed.
I have to point out really quick, I think any discussion of this movie has to include this point, which is that it's disgusting that they included Paige in this film at all, because the WWE has famously underpaid Paige to the point where she was led to pornography, and she's made like multiple sex tapes and everything because she had popularity, but she wasn't making enough money from the WWE. So for the WWE to be claiming her as some sort of poster child, even though they mistreated her and so many other female wrestlers so much, it's disgusting. Yeah.
Maybe that's the word for this movie.
Disgusting?
Yeah.
Yeah. We also gotta just briefly touch on like the creation of this. And which comes down to the bottom line. Sony Animation has really low standards and are creatively bankrupt.
That's Sony Animation.
The story.
The problem is the way this movie was created, which we both know the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's that this movie wasn't supposed to exist. It was never intended to happen. And that really shows in that there's not a movie there. And, well, so the WWE came to them post Surf's Up 1.
Because they want to advertise to children. They want to bring their WWE to a younger demographic.
And they were like, hey, Surf's Up is a vaguely sport-related movie, and it has a sort of like realistic documentary, mockumentary.
It's within our budget.
We'll get there. A realistic documentary, mockumentary style. And after that movie, which did okay, it's got a sports style. And also, this is Sony Animations. Y'all are cheap. Y'all are like nickel and dimes cheap.
And even if you haven't heard of Surf's Up, you'll probably mistake it for Happy Feet, and they'll get you in the theater anyway.
There were a bunch of Penguin movies around that time, which Surf's Up is not a bad movie. As an aside,
I've never seen it.
It's actually pretty good. It's like really solid. But the WWE approached them and said, "You've got a sport-related property. We are sport. Would you like to make an advertisement for us where your sport people advertise our sport people?" And Sony Animations called them back later, I'm going to assume at 3 a.m, and said, "Do you want better? I'm going to make you a movie. You want John Cena as a penguin? We got it. He'll have pecs the size of the universe."
We didn't know where to go with this franchise.
It's a franchise now? And thus Surf's Up 2 was born. The WWE said, "Make us an advertisement to run on TV." And they came back and said, "How about we make you a movie?"
Here's the thing is, like I guess with like Sony Animation, they weren't really even worried about the reputation at all. Because like if you think about it,
Sony.
Even if you don't know the Bug's Life, you know Pixar.
Yes.
Even if you don't know Sleeping Beauty, you know Disney. Even if you don't know Monsters vs. Aliens, you know DreamWorks. If you know Surf's Up, do you know it was made by Sony Pictures Animation?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
They kind of have an invisible name.
Which means that they can get away with anything because
Yeah.
nobody knows that the same people making these movies over and over again.
In fact, you can see that in the way that people like advertise. It's like new movie from creators of the Minions.
Do you think?
And it's like you could have just said Sony Animations, but nobody knows who that is.
You may not know Sing, but you know Illumination, and you know Illumination
Yes.
is the Minions company. But here's the thing: is like with Spider-Verse, I think like probably about half the people who watch Spider-Verse don't know that it's made by the same animation company as Open Season. You know, Minions is in Illumination.
Oh, I got that wrong.
No, yeah, Illumination being a subsidiary of Universal.
I don't know anything. That's my purpose here. I'm the stupid one. I don't know anything.
You've seen
about
Surf's
movies.
Up 1, and I know everything else about movies.
You know what? Yeah, equal parts.
Handshake.
A+. So, Surf's Up 2. It's an hour and 20 minutes of almost video.
Almost. That's the key word right there.
I would call it. I believe I called it the day of a PowerPoint because the majority of the movie is a slideshow of backgrounds with
Clearly
animated.
not 3D backgrounds.
Well, 3D when they were rendered and then
Screenshotted. Yeah.
screenshotted and placed in the background while you have an animated person walking around on top.
Because they don't move.
Nothing moves. You will notice like a significant portion of the shots of this movie are just a static background. No wind, no trees, no waves, nothing.
I highly recommend.
Sand and rock and sky.
I highly recommend if you're trying to get the vibe that watching Surf's Up 2 is like. It's hard to describe how cheap that animation is. I mentioned it when we watched it when we had the screening, but it is highly comparable to how DreamWorks does their YouTube channel. There's a very famous meme out there where Shrek goes, "Oh, hello there," and people don't think I know how to bust a move, you know? And like have you seen that video?
I have not.
Okay, we didn't watch that, but it's like it's a DreamWorks, it's a legitimate DreamWorks YouTube video that they made, where like Shrek does a dance or something. I think he raps. Something like that. I think Shrek raps, something like that. He's proving that he's hip with the kids, but. That YouTube video is the same animation style as Surf's Up 2, and where the 3D renders of it, like the 3D models and everything that actually move. There's that 3D ground and the 3D characters, and everything else is a screenshot. And it's very, very easy to tell.
It's a soundstage.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get this like overwhelming sense of stagnancy. Because even if you don't recognize, like, oh, the background isn't moving, you as a casual viewer acknowledge there's something wrong with this. Everything's so still. Nothing is moving. Nobody's saying anything. The camera doesn't go anywhere. And that's because, like, every time somebody new talks, rather than pan the camera to them, we get an entirely new camera angle because otherwise they would have to have a 3D background.
There are some zoom-ins and zoom-outs, but those can simply be done by making the entire animation in a large shot and then zooming in,
that's literally just a, like...
That's the extent of it, though.
A transform tool.
And the funniest shit is when like two characters are having a conversation and it cuts back and forth between the two angles and the background stays the same.
Oh my god.
That's the best stuff right there.
In the lava area when it cuts to Cody because he's short and it's the exact same angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
That stuff, that's what cuts this movie automatically down from movie to video,
video essay.
Greeting card. Video greeting card. You know what I'm talking about with those? Like the GNOME video?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that. That's what it is. That's the level that it's taken down to from the beginning.
I'm not a penguin.
And you've been GNOME.
So, the plot of the movie. If you can call it this. It does not follow what I would call a typical 3-act structure, nor what I would call a coherent thing happens plot. Because the goal set out from the beginning and the ending are almost completely divorced from each other. With the exception of, like, 2 scenes which we'll talk about because they are related and almost act like they're a plot, but seem to be completely disconnected from the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, we come back to our main character from Surf's Up 1. Now, basic rundown of Surf's Up 1. A guy enters a surfing competition, and then at the end of it, when he's about to win, he's given an opportunity to either save the life of somebody else who is about to drown, or win the competition. And he decides that winning isn't as important as his friends. Pretty decent kids' movie plot.
But Chicken Joe is a really bad friend.
Oh, he is. But maybe he wasn't in the first movie. I don't remember. But Chicken Joe, the person he saved, we come back in the second movie, and it turns out Chicken Joe, has gotten pretty famous. He's, become a breakout success. And he comes back home, and Cody is pretty jealous of him. In a sort of, I'm proud of you, and I'm glad you're doing well, but, maybe don't bring up the fact that I gave all this up, please, kind of way. He seems, a little pained by it.
Yeah.
Nothing extreme, but, pretty decent character.
He made a good decision. He's just not content with it.
You can tell that the first 10 minutes of this movie were made with the intent of making an actual sequel.
So it follows this...
Maybe they, repurposed it or something?
It follows this not wholly original at all and very easy and cookie cutter plotline, which you see a lot, is that the character doesn't actually get to a better place by the end of the film. It's one of those learn to appreciate what you have movies.
Well, the first one is.
Well, the second one is.
The second one wants to be. I don't think it succeeds. So
it doesn't succeed at anything. Nothing works here. Every sequence fails drastically in one way or another.
I'm saying that, though, with this context in mind. I genuinely think that they did not... There are 3 scenes in the whole film that support that plot is what's happening.
Yeah.
Everything else has nothing to do with it. Literally nothing. Holy cow, nothing. So, what's established... So, that's established from the start, is Cody's kind of jealous of Chicken Joe. Full stop. Then, hey... Hang 5 are in town.
They randomly show up at the location that these guys are at.
For, no reason established, really?
They could have a good reason, right? There's, the famous surfer, Big Z, that they could, visit his memorial, because they're surfers.
Instead, they show up because they're looking for the next Big Z, which Big Z is dead, I think?
Yeah, Big Z's dead. He died in the first one, because
that's right.
Yeah, the tournament's like a memorial.
And so they show up here, and the only reasoning given is Mr. McMahon going, yeah, these islands breed good surfers, which I'm going to pretend that isn't gross, and move swiftly onward with no reasoning. I'm going to pretend it had no reasoning. So they show up here for definitely not racist reasons, and are looking for a new member to their crew because Mr. McMahon is retiring.
And they put a gigantic investment into these 2 guys that they've never met before. That they randomly strolled around them.
Not just 2 guys.
Oh yeah, all 4 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, except for Chicken Joe. I don't think
Chicken Joe got taken by the Undertaker.
But he wasn't a champion. He was a meal.
True. Effectively, Cody, our main character, is like, this is my chance to make it big, and shows off in front of them, and JC, John Cena, decides, hey, this guy seems like a good plan. Meanwhile, Hunter, our villain, sorta, kinda, maybe, decides Tank, who's got all these medals and accolades, might be a better pick. But Mr. McMahon has yet to be convinced. Also, the first person they asked was neither of these people. The first person they asked was Cody's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a non-plot point. Because...
jealousy of woman.
Cody immediately tries to step over her.
He is just a bad romantic partner.
He's really just a jerk.
He's extremely unsupportive of his wife.
He hears, oh, they're looking for someone, and she's like, yeah, they asked me. And he's like, no, that's great. I'm gonna go show off in front of them and try and steal your spot. And it's like not even presented as weird. It's just, ew, gross.
Yeah.
And throughout all of this, everybody decides they're gonna have a champion to see who will surpass Mr. McMahon. Undertaker grabs the chicken because he's hungry. And thus they set off for grand adventure to see who is a better fit. And also to RTL, which is the dumbest plot point I have ever heard in a movie, because it's literally just not telling people what they're going to what to do.
It doesn't build suspense or anything. It's just like they have like a code word, and it's really pathetic.
It's really not great. It's supposed to be like a big twist, and it just isn't.
So where the movie moves from here, I think part of what makes this a terrible sequel is because I think that the first movie, correct me if I'm wrong, it was really low in scale and stakes. It was literally just a single surfing tournament. That was the big thing.
Yeah,
right?
But it was presented in this very realistic manner. The whole point is you were supposed to grow attached to these characters as though they were real
as
people.
Grounded as an animated movie about penguins could be.
It was more grounded, I would say, because the camera angles were kept consistent. As in, like...
The cameraman was always there.
Yeah, the cameras were always established as being a physical object that could be moved.
Yeah.
And that gave everything a bizarre air of legitimacy.
And now it turns into like a Trolls-esque action adventure.
And they kind of forgot about how the cameraman is supposed to work.
Which is just going to immediately destroy any fan of the originals, like any recognition that has of the first film, you know?
But doing it right would have taken effort. They can't do that.
So throughout this time, so they have a whole bunch of challenges and tribulations, some surfing on, giant whale? They did that.
Yeah.
They surfed on the desert. They windsurfed over lava.
Oh, well, hold on. Don't get ahead of yourself, because
I forgot the jungle.
They surf on a whale, and it's big scary. They go to the desert. Undertaker licks the ground and goes, the taste of death. This is about normal for his character.
Turned into, have you seen Kong Skull Island?
Yes.
You remember when like Tom Hiddleston and everything, they were on the a desert, like a jungly area, and they're all like the bones and everything?
Oh yeah.
That's what that reminded me of instantly. Is like, oh my god, it's Kong Skull Island.
Oh my goodness. It was all here, foretold in the ancient texts. They leave. They surf on sand. Tank tries to kill Cody. That's normal.
So here's the thing about it, though. So throughout all these like action adventure elements, this is still an active advertisement for the WWE.
Yeah, and
which
you
means
can't forget
all the cool things that happen in the movie, except for one. All the cool things in the movie, except for one, are done by the WWE wrestlers, and everybody else is made out to be pathetic, which makes our hero the worst.
Oh yeah, he almost gets killed by Tank. Falls into the sand. It has to be saved by John Cena. Undertaker falls into the sand. Has to be saved by John Cena's horrific bulging pecs. Yeah, that's the scene, by the way. Like, our main character is made explicitly to be useless because he's effectively running around with people who are, I'm gonna say, like, much higher level than him. Like, they're smurfing just to be around him in, like, a real life sort of way. And then, like, as the movie progresses, it becomes increasingly nonsensical.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they cross the ocean, get to a desert. Yeah, this is fine. Then they go into a jungle.
Well, I think that there's supposed to be like there's supposed to be like a David and Goliath dynamic between Cody and Tank, right? Like you're big, have big muscle, have big ward, big guy, and I small guy, I small boy, I can do surf better.
I'm just a little guy. I'm a birthday boy. It's my birthday.
But here's the thing: by making all the cool things done by the WWE, because it's an advertisement for them, we get zero reasoning for why the High Five should ever consider him to join and become their leader.
Five.
The Hang Five?
Why you called them the High Five?
Does it matter?
I called them the Take Five.
Okay, is the Hang Five any better than James Corden High Five? Have you seen the Emoji Movie?
I have seen the Emoji Movie, and I know who you're talking about. Look,
I was speaking about the Emoji Movie a lot, and I was thinking about the fist emoji, which was played by James Corden. At the time, I didn't know who James Corden was. And just by thinking about the Emoji Movie and how annoying the fist was, I instantly made that connection in mind. Oh my god, that was James Corden.
Oh god,
you know, I didn't. Nobody revealed that to me. I revealed it to myself. I made a connection in my mind. Like, oh god,
like a horrible, like eldritch truth made clear to you. That was James Corden. So, after the desert, they go into the jungle. Tank tries to kill the main character again. This time over a giant pit. However,
really bad Indiana Jones homage.
They fall into an Indiana Jones temple. Tank steals a golden surfboard, which sets off a bunch of traps. Anybody who knows how real surfboards work, don't think about it. They certainly weren't.
This movie, it kind of feels like teaching an AI to write a movie just by feeding it movies.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a real film.
It feels like a computer generated, okay, this is where you have cool desert scene with pit and because the skeletons and everything, they don't matter. There's nothing about that valley that says anything about death. So they're like, oh, you have to throw in deserted skeletons and everything, which are supposed to in a film lead up to big bad that put those there, but no,
that's just ruins.
Moving on to like the temple stuff, like you're supposed to have that because you're supposed to be an ancient civilization or everything, and you're there. There's some depth there, and you're an intruder, but that goes nowhere.
Also, on the topic of that temple. Would you like to know how stupid the concept for that temple is? It's not a crypt. This is a surfing hall of fame.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's literally in universe. It's like this horror crypt is from a civilization that deified surfers, which is dumb. And bad.
And lasts for 5 minutes?
Yeah, which
we move on.
It comes up one other time.
Yeah.
It you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Mario Tennis single player.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's like the ancient power is contained within this tennis racket. And it's like that doesn't work. You can't say that.
The tutorial for Mario Tennis Aces takes place in ancient ruins.
The whole game takes place in ancient ruins.
Not really.
Luigi gets his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet, but instead of that, it's a tennis racket. That game's weird. They leave the Temple of Doom. The Temple of Gnarly Waves, and go into the third of their Mario worlds, and it is by far the dumbest, because they enter an area that is literally just a giant magma crevasse, and they're like, well, I guess we're never gonna get to the other side. And
shucks. Even though they've gone there multiple times
before,
they know the destination they're going to, and they know the route that they're taking. They just forget.
Our main character is like, hey, you know, it'd be a great idea. What if we made wing gliders out of our surfboards?
That's the thing. Here's the thing: is that the computer that wrote this movie doesn't understand the difference between a movie where people are going through unknown territory, discovering what they do along the way, and a movie where people who are unknown about the path they're taking are taken by people who know the path. The computer doesn't recognize the difference between those two concepts, so it's just kind of both.
Yeah, it is kind of both. Because, doesn't Undertaker say something like, it's like this island doesn't want us to get there?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you've been here. You know the...
You have a catchphrase about what happens when you get to the other side.
Because remember, Vince McMahon is talking to a seashell.
Oh.
The seashell is guiding them. But it's like a GPS or something.
Then how the hell do they know what RTL means?
Well, that's the reason for the whole journey.
Oh, was it a myth? Is it a?
Yeah.
Is it? It's a surfing.
It's one of those surfing legends.
I want to no longer consume oxygen.
I want to no longer have consumed this movie.
I want to have always been dead.
Can you throw up a movie? If I stick my finger far enough back in my brain, can I throw up a movie?
Is there anything else to talk about?
Well, yes. In Lava Land, when they meet Mario, in the Lava Land, the main character has what has to be the most contrived argument with his friends I've ever seen, which is them going, "Hey, are you okay? It seems like you're really into this." And he's like, "This is my chance to finally make it big and get out of that tiny, terrible town." And they're like, "We live there." And he's like,
"I am your wife."
"I am your wife." What are you talking about?
Boomer humor.
And
hate wife.
No, he calls it like a nobody town and walks away, and they're like, "Well, I guess I'm just a nobody then." And they're like sassy about it. And then proceeds
He's like, "Yeah."
Then proceeds the worst series of events in this entire movie. Because our main character's been kind of a jerk up to this point. How would you like that to ramp in no time flat into rampantly psychotic? Because he does. Our main buddy, good old Cody. Buddy. Good old buddy. He decides, while he is hang gliding over lava, and has been told verbatim by Vince McMahon, "If you wipe out here, you never get back up. It's lava. We know how lava works, Mr. McMahon. You do not have to explain this to babies."
I've played New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii.
Yeah, the babies have played New Super Mario Brothers U. They know how lava works. And so they're hang gliding over lava, and our main character decides, "Hey, Tank tried to kill me twice before. I'm going to try to murder him. I am going to jump up and down on his hang glider and try and knock him out of the sky."
No. So Tank does that to Cody. Tank flies above Cody and knocks around with him with his feet. Messing around with Cody, and then Cody barrel rolls into Tank.
No, that's Cody.
Is it?
It is.
Cody
does it to Tank.
That is like attempted murder.
It is attempted murder. Then he backs up and charges him, knocking him into Chicken Joe, whose hang glider breaks and he has to be saved by somebody,
the WWE.
By the WWE,
who again do the coolest things in the movie.
They land, and everybody's like, "Hey, Cody, what the frick, bro?" And he's like, "What? Tank's been, Tank's been doing all sorts of stuff to me all this time. I think he really deserved it." And they're like, "Yeah, but what about Chicken Joe?" And Chicken Joe is like injured on the ground, and he's like, "I didn't know." And they play this whole scene as he's like regretting it, and everybody's like, "What's your problem, man? You totally lost it out there. We're supposed to be a team." And they're playing the whole gamut. And you forget that throughout this entire scene, the reason Cody's upset is not because he attempted to murder somebody, but because it almost had collateral damage. Oh, no. How am I supposed to empathize with this man?
I'm gonna right the wrongs in the first movie.
Yeah, for real.
Both of you should be dead.
He tries to kill someone, and then is upset, not because it didn't work, and not because he tried to kill someone. He regrets it because it almost killed someone else.
And it lowered his stock with the hang five.
Yeah, he's upset that it socially affected him to try to kill a man. So everybody has a falling out. He gives his board to Chicken Joe in the most horrific scene probably yet, because nothing happens in it. He's just like, "I'm sorry," leaves his board and leaves. And then proceeds the worst plot point yet, in that none of it mattered. So the Hang Five continue on to their final destination, which is where they are supposed to RTL. And our man Cody goes off into the ruins nearby because he's depressed or something. And he gets there, and he finds an inscription on a stone tablet which has what RTL stands for. Now, by the time this appears on screen, RTL has been said out loud as a full set of words instead of an acronym on screen by other characters. And he decides...
They messed up the order?
Yeah, they messed up the order. We see first the other group arrive there and they say, we're gonna have to RTL. What's that mean? Ride the lightning.
You see, what you don't understand is that
and then
clearly...
they cut
clearly
to Cody finding out what it means and saying, I have to warn them.
Clearly you miss out on the fact that this is a Hitchcockian approach. Where have you heard the Hitchcock quote where it's like there's a great way that movies build tension by showing you that there's a bomb underneath the table when the characters don't know there is. Obviously, you don't understand that this is clearly the Hitchcockian approach.
Except the characters explicitly know that there's a bomb under the table. This is 5 people standing around a bomb, somebody a mile away reading on a book, there's a bomb under their table. I have to warn them. Meanwhile, everyone at that table is staring at the bomb and going, there's a bomb under here. Meanwhile, we, the audience, are like, where's the tension in this? Because the guy who's like, I have to warn them, is like miles away and is running to tell them about the bomb under the table. They know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no tension.
There's no part of that tablet, like Inscription Discovery, that at all tells him anything that those people don't know. Yeah, that inscription told him that riding waves during lightning is dangerous. And when they are at the beach and the characters find out about it before he reads the inscription, they know that riding the waves during lightning is dangerous. There's no reveal there.
Nothing has been established. So... literally reorient. You could have just reorganized these shots or something, but no, they just don't care. And so our dude shows up way too late, and they have already done the big riding of the lightning. Tank decides he is too big scary baby to do this, and because he's got a gold surfboard, remember that plot point?
Oh yeah.
He is like washing ashore, but keeps getting struck at by lightning because he's literally surfing on top of a lightning rod.
Yeah, and at least that part, that logic tracks a little bit, you know? That's the only good connection between, you know, like, ancient Mayan tomb Indiana Jones-esque would have a golden surfboard in this universe, and then at the same time, gold is a very high conductive material.
Cool, but also... it probably would have been cooler if that, like, meant something other than it killing you. Like, if it had been something like, in order to properly ride the lightning, you gotta be riding a conductor in order to surf on the air. Or something stupid. That would have been more appropriate. But instead it's like, no, this will just kill you.
Yeah.
Why did the king have this golden surfboard? He craved death. Just as I do after having watched Surf's Up 2, Wavemania.
A golden surfboard makes absolutely no sense.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Our main character dude shows up. Everybody has already washed ashore. And Undertaker is not quite, also almost maybe dead. Our main character shows up and sees Tank getting struck at by lightning. Saves him with a surfboard that he found underneath the waves, because this is a surfboarder graveyard. You know, like a elephant graveyard or something? I don't know. And he saves Tank's life, and it is definitely a thing that happens. This movie did not earn this.
No, yeah.
They get back to shore.
It's payoff to nothing. It's nothing paying off to nothing.
They get back to shore. I think it was Chicken Joe, grabs 2 jellyfish and electrocutes the Undertaker to bring him back to life.
Somehow the Undertaker's the one that's knocked out.
Yeah, even though he's literally established to be unkillable through this movie. They strap the jellyfish to his chest and shock him to defibrillate him. He stands up and the jellyfish jiggle like boobs, and it is one of the worst scenes of the movie. And then...
it's so bad.
It's really bad. It's really bad. If you want to see Undertaker Penguin with jellyfish tip, here's your movie.
This is what I'm talking about. This is furry fan fiction.
It's worse. It's literally worse. Furries would not come up with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would just say, he has it. And they wouldn't have to get complicated with it. So, there's no need to make it jellyfish. That's somehow worse. Like, then, Cody and Tank walk on the shore, and Tank says, "So, you saved my life. We cool?" "Yeah, we cool." And, hey, do you want to join our team? "No thanks. I got a pretty cool team at home." And it ends the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
the whole conflict between who's going to replace Mr. McMahon is resolved by Mr. McMahon not retiring.
Yeah, which is because where else am I going to find fun adventures like this?
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. Shut your mouth. Never talk again. You do not deserve it. Christ.
There is one single thing that we need to talk about this movie, and then we could be done with it, and that's the Tank Stan Army, because Tank is the best character in the entire movie, and here's why.
Okay.
So there's a great scene earlier in the film. That's actually set up for later in the film, which you don't realize because A, we were drunk, and B, it's a bad movie, where Tank talks about his surfboard, and it's like this kind of more rackety wooden surfboard, and he talks about how he doesn't really have like a strict one-on-one relationship with surfboards. It's very open, but this one's his favorite. You know, so it's a really shitty allegory for like extremely like sexually active, like buff tough guy.
I guess.
And later in the movie, he throws out that surfboard for the golden surfboard.
Oh, sorry.
That was payoff.
You said later in the movie. Did you mean 2 minutes later?
No.
Because it's literally 2 minutes later. They have the, "This is my favorite surfboard.
No, that's like the
I love
beginning.
her." No, it is not.
I thought it was at the beginning.
No, that's one of the intermediary things they do while they are it was the loading screen when they fell into the temple.
But they don't even okay, so even
it's literally while they are in like the jungle camping out, like a scene earlier.
So they don't recognize our attention span.
No.
Yeah, okay.
They don't.
But even with that, the payoff of him just throwing that board away and getting the gold one, it's still actually funny. You know? That one cutaway gag is the only legitimately funny part of the entire movie.
I think what's funny about it is we don't see it.
Yeah.
Is we see him looking at it and going, and then somebody off screen is like, "Yeah, who would steal something from someplace so unbelievably trapped and cursed?" And then they cut back to him and he's just got the golden surfboard in his hands and the wooden one is on the stand and
like,
it
I had this the whole time.
And they're like, "Did you steal something from the tomb?" "No, I've had this the whole time." "Okay." And they just believe him. Nobody ever says anything about that golden surfboard.
And that's the thing about like when you have like shrimpy heroes who keep on getting bullied, but they have no good motivation and they have no good turnaround, making them just suck. So the protagonist with this movie just sucks, which makes Tank a much more fun character to follow around. You know, he is legitimately the best character in this entire film.
So yeah,
it's very well. There's it reminds me of Kicking It. You ever seen the Disney XD show Kicking It?
No.
Okay. Well, there's there's a thing in Kicking It where there's there's the Tommy Wasabi dojo, and then there's the extreme really cool dojo, kind of like the relationship with like Cobra Kai. You know, like two rival dojos. Yeah. And one of them has like they wear all black and red, and they're super serious, just like the Karate Kid, and they have all the trophies and everything, and they're super buff and huge, and if you play that for laughs, it can be legitimately funny. And so Tank being this like super serious strong guy with all his rewards and everything, and Mr. like McMahon accidentally breaking the reward over and over again, and him being legitimately broken up.
No, that wasn't Mr. McMahon. That was Hunter.
Yeah. So Tank is the only redeeming quality of the entire movie.
Honestly. Yeah. Tank is like genuinely a little entertaining because he is this just like vaguely pathetic meathead, and you kind of love him for that.
Yeah,
because
even though he's and you were actively voting, especially after Cody attempts
tries
to kill him.
him.
You are at that point. You're like, you know what? All the times that Tank has tried to kill Cody, I'm fine with those now.
Yeah, because Cody's crazy. So again, Cody, as established in the first movie, is a good person. Cody in the second movie is kind of a loser, kind of a jerk.
He's a scroll.
And then, for genuinely inexplicably, having watched the movie before and after, he is a jerk, but he's sane. He has a single moment, which is a genuine mental break. He just goes completely ballistic. Dude's crazy. Tries to how many children's movies have a moment where the main character experiences inescapable bloodlust?
I have one.
Genuine murderous intent?
Yeah, genuinely murderous intent. I can think of one.
Toy Story. Fair enough.
I want to go on a Toy Story rant so much right now, but that will literally expand this podcast for an extra 30 minutes. So we're
at an hour.
Yeah, I'll hold on to my my Toy Story discussion because the story behind the creation of the original Toy Story is fascinating. So we'll talk about that later. Any closing remarks on Surf's Up to Wavemania?
Surf's Up to Wavemania. Disgusting. Its depiction of women, its depiction of men, its depiction of surfing, its depiction of the main character of Surf's Up, its depiction of being a movie is disgusting.
I'm legitimately surprised that the art style of the animation is the same between the two. This feels
Vince
like
McMahon's weird fish kink. Disgusting.
This feels like the level of effort where you would change a 3D movie into a 2D movie just because it's cheaper to make, you know?
Yeah.
That feels like the level of effort going into this. So at least they put in money to make character models.
But no, those are left over from the first movie.
Not the big characters. That's also a funny thing about it, is that they reuse the character models for the first movie to save money, which creates an enormous contrast between that and the artistic style of the Hang Five, you know?
Which, style is a strong word.
Well, yeah. It's a very strong word.
They are not good.
But it's a different version of representing things visually.
Yeah, because they were like, how do we represent these characters as recognizable? Clothes? Clothes on penguins. Sure.
Alright. I am done with Surf's Up to Wavemania. Alright. That is...
Now...
Ugh. I don't like that movie.
Yeah, no, it's bad. Alright. Next up...
I have an interim topic really quick, just to build us into the next thing. When was the last... I was at work, and this popped into my head. When was the last time you've heard a book pun? Do you know very much about book puns?
As in, like, a pun about a book title?
Yes. It's a category of joke where the joke is you name the title of a book and then the author, and the name of the author is a joke that represents in some way the title. Have you heard any of those before?
I have not. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like an extinct form of pun. And it's honestly one of my favorites. I used to have like a big like yellow joke book that my family stole because it was awful. And it had an entire like 3-page spread on book puns. And book puns, they're just really, really funny. So I came up with one myself on that day, and that was A Guide to Millennial Humor by Ivana Dye.
That is a good one. Oh, that's very good. Oh, so that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, book puns.
Oh, that's the example greatly helps. A Guide to Millennial Humor by Ivana Dye. Oh, that's good.
I thought of another one, which is Nick Offerman, the best character on Parks and Recreation by Rhonda Manager.
Yep.
So like it's fun to think about. It's not easy because you want to make sure it's super easy to reuse the same first name over and over again because it sounds like certain words. But coming up with them like book puns, it's fun. It's really fun to do.
Honestly, it makes me think of I make joke names like that for a lot of my D&D characters,
Mm-hmm.
where I'll be like, this guy's got like this guy's a muscle-bound freak. What should I call him? Like, and like you end up with some like muscle-based pun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's a Roman gladiator who is a barbarian and is built like a dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call him Gluteus Maximus.
I had a character that was like he was a artificer, and he was like a gunsman, and his name was Jack K. Itz, and his thing was he was replacing parts of himself with metal, like the one character Wilhelm from Borderlands, and so eventually he'll become Full Metal Jack Kitz.
Oh, I had one that was it was a bard who like talked like an old carnival barker.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Raymond D. Orwell. Ray D.O.
That's good. That's good.
I love Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
He's great.
So bring back book puns. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, name things puns.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. This is your advice for the day.
That's like a legitimately redeemable a form of comedy. You know, like that has lasting power.
All right.
I like book puns. Book puns are good.
Next up, to contrast our the hard-hitting cinema of Surf's Up 2 Wavemania, we presented something a little lighter, which
we're discussing two Academy Award nominated films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going from Surf's Up 2 into something a little lighter, which is No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
And No Country for Old Men.
movie.
Well, actually, no, not No Country for Old Men. How about one scene from No Country for Old Men? Because Surf's Up 2 Wavemania is 5 minutes of content stretched over 120 minutes. So why not compare it to a 5-minute scene from a better movie? So we're going to be discussing the No Country for Old Men coin flip scene.
It's called Coin Toss. If you go on YouTube and search Coin Toss No Country for Old Men, it's the first thing that comes up.
Rather, we're not going to be discussing that scene, but instead an essay written about that scene, written by
me. Because
I
took a film class this past semester, and I wrote an essay on that one scene. So a couple terms you should probably know going into this. The first one is semiotics. Semiotics is it's a term that's used to describe symbolism in visual media. So it's anything that visually represents something without outright saying it. Like a person wearing all black would be semiotically tied to like funerals and death. So that there's an example.
Grief and professionalism.
And then this essay specifically is a description on the topic of mise en scene, which is a French term that's used to describe every single thing that's involved with filmmaking at any certain given point in time. So mise en scene incorporates costumes, set design, lighting, audio, sound effects, like posture, anything like that. So those are the big topics. Yeah, going in here. So the scene Coin Toss from No Country for Old Men, the movie it's towards the first 15 minutes of the film, where Javier Bardem's character, his name's like Chigal or something like that. I can't exactly remember. It's really Anton. His first name's Anton. So Anton goes into this gas station, and he is a murderer who just recently escaped capture by killing the police officers that held him there. And he's driving along this long stretch of empty road, and he comes across this convenience store run by this bit shorter in stature,
older gentleman.
It takes place in Texas, which is pretty important for the visual style and the characters that are involved. They make a lot of sense in that situation. So it's this really harmless convenience store worker encountering basically the angel of death is what this scene is. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
So, also of note, I am reading this for the first time.
Yes.
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's the mouse.
If I do a poor job, that's fine. This is content.
Mm-hmm.
Essay 2, Coin Toss. The scene Coin Toss from No Country for Old Men is composed of 4 main shots, which all incorporate different elements of naturalistic mise-en-scene to tell the story visually and set the tone for the rest of the film. These 4 shots are the establishing shot of the convenience store, the shot of the store proprietor, the shot of Anton, and the shot of the wrapper / the coin. Wrapper spelled with a W. Shot...
and 2 P's.
Yes. Wrapper as in candy wrapper. Shot 1 of the scene masterfully uses mise-en-scene to show the setting and further the visual tone of the film. The shot is composed of the focused Texaco sign in center frame, which establishes the reasoning for Anton to be here. To the right in the house and the convenience store in which the scene takes place. There are 2 cars around the store, which communicates that Anton and the proprietor are alone here. To the left is a wide shot of the empty desert and a long stretching road with no buildings in sight, creating the feeling of isolation. Finally, the far side of the frame shows shadows of clouds approaching that are bringing the contrast of darkness to the bright desert sun on the close side. The visual clash between the dark clouds and bright sun upon the store is a visual metaphor, which continues in later parts of the scene, representing the nature of the proprietor and Anton. Anton, much like the storm clouds, represents a looming threat, which, at random, can bring devastating consequences. Shot 2 focuses on the proprietor of the shop. In frame, there are many props and key aspects of the set, including hanging wires, which hang in loops at the top of the frame, resembling nooses, which further the tone and fear of death. To the right of the proprietor hangs a smiley-faced air freshener, which are an important aspect to the visual dynamic between the proprietor and Anton shown later, but also inform the audience with the proprietor's choice of heads in the coin toss. Both windows in frame clearly display nothing but empty desert and open roads, which all add to the feeling of isolation. The costume design of the scene shown here contains the light shirt of the proprietor, which shows bright tan and brown colors, which are juxtaposed with the dark black jacket of Anton. This continues the visual metaphor of the clouds and bright desert sun. The lighting in the shot is dark, and the body language of the proprietor is hunched over, which both combine to make him seem small and weak in comparison to the imposing dark figure of Anton entering the shot, the darkness of Anton's clothing symbolizing the darkness of the man himself. Shot 3 shows an array of props which tie shot 2 and 3 together. To the right of Anton, there is a rack of beef jerky and an array of cowboy hats, which are connotatively connected to masculinity. To the left, connotatively?
Yeah.
Connotatively connected to masculinity. To the left of the proprietor, there is a candy rack clearly in frame, which, in coordination with the air fresheners, create a direct contrast with the overt masculinity of the items shown in Anton's side of the frame. Anton takes up much larger portion of the frame in his shot than the proprietor, which visually establishes the power dynamic between the 2 characters. Anton's costume is cleanly put together, which offers insight into his character for the rest of the film, while the proprietor is much messier, as his top button is undone. Shot 4, which shows a close-up of the countertop, incorporates the auditory aspects of the mise-en-scene. When Anton performs the intimidating action of crushing the wrapper and placing it on the counter, the wrapper makes an unsettling cracking sound, which transitions the scene into a dramatic, intense climax of the coin toss. The prop of the coin provides a direct connection to the character of Anton. Just like the moving storm, the encounter of Anton and the proprietor is chance, and the possibility of disaster falling upon the proprietor is also chance. When Anton does not need to kill in the film, he lets the coin decide. He uses the coin to put the victim's life into the hands of fate. By letting the victim call the flip, he takes himself out of the situation and transitions into just a tool for fate to use to smite whomever is ready to die.
That's it. So, unfortunately, I would have said much, much more, but there was a 2-page limit. On
and you filled that to its very brim.
Yeah, the very, very brim of it, yes.
So, this essay.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel that you're constrained by the page limit.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this scene a lot more than you end up doing.
I think I have my, goodness, no, it's upstairs. I have my notebook And after we watched the film, he told us that we were going to be doing an essay on a single scene in the movie, and I instantly knew what scene he was talking about. I instantly knew it was this one, because it is very well self-contained, and there's just so much to break down there. And so when I came home to start writing the essay, I watched the scene about like maybe 3 times, and I have a page full of notes of just different things in the background environment, different props that are there, which have symbolic and really like emotional ties. It's that sort of thing where when you see something like a picture of a dog, your brain recognizes dog, but there's also an emotional connection there, like to like happiness or joy, or if the dog maybe is pounding a little bit, to sadness. So it elicits that sort of emotion, even if you don't necessarily see dog and think happy. Your brain has that happy emotion in there, but that's not in the forefront of your consciousness. So that's kind of what set design really can do in a film. This scene does a great job of demonstrating how attention to detail can create more effective scenes, because imagery like these like they're like zip ties that are just hanging above that window. They resemble nooses, and when it comes to studying film, things that aren't one thing but resemble another mean the other. Those zip ties, although they are not literally nooses and are not used to kill people, resemble nooses, and therefore create that feeling of dread there. And also, it could have an emotional connection to that character, because in that scene, the character, he's wasting away his life. So perhaps this is his deathbed. So there's a lot of different things there, like how they put the beef jerky and the cowboy hats on the side of the frame that Anton's standing on. Like all these like imagery that when it comes to like a Texas like perspective are tied deeply with masculinity. It's there's so many different aspects to that when it comes to specifically the set design in that scene, and how like a book can use specific imagery and symbolism to show forces of lightness and darkness. Films do the exact same thing, and the costume design in that scene is just it's so telling of that. It's every single part of a film is a choice. It's all a choice. And when you decide not to take that choice, that's when you get surf sucked too. Everything is a decision, and they all have equal impact. So trying from a consumer's perspective to understand that everything on that scene is a choice, and it's not really just what was there. They didn't just walk up on a convenience store and say, "Okay, we'll shoot here." It isn't Jackass. Everything there is a choice, and as consumers, if we start realizing the decisions that have to go into making that scene exist in the first place, then we can appreciate more about what the film is trying to tell us.
Yeah, and even if you don't approach it that deeply, like, there is definitely enough here that like the casual observer can pick up on some of this stuff. Like, Anton is backlit. Like, the lighting is sourced behind Anton and facing towards the smaller man. And Anton just being in shadow because he's backlit is, in its own way, scary. Like, it's just intimidating to see a person that you cannot identify their facial features. Because even if you're not approaching it from a semiotic perspective, your instinct as a human being is, I can't see this person's face. They are a threat.
Yeah.
It's like relying on some like deeper held sort of instincts.
And he's not completely shrouded in shadow, but it's those slight details that there's that really great quote. It's like you may have not have noticed, but your brain did. Yeah.
Somewhere in the back of your monkey brain, it was like, that's spooky. You can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Which just works towards heightening that tension. So that one scene is just particularly fascinating, and there's some great elements in there with the performances, which was something I couldn't talk about in this. But Javier Bardem, he has that very like a flat tone, like a monotone voice.
Very stilted.
Yeah, he's got the way he talks, it's kind of like he's like a constant figure of judgment, Like
Yeah.
everything you say, your words have legitimate weight. And the film it's kind of tonally this representation of old generations and new generations. Specifically, the title says "No Country for Old Men." Well, Javier Bardem's character has that representation of like the moral values of an older generation. You know, like everything you say has legitimate weight, and if you say the wrong thing, then you're looking for a fight. You know, like the So nothing can be passed, is what it is. Yeah, like his view of what men are supposed to be, directly conflicts with this one shopkeeper he happens to walk across, and because they're isolated in this area, he is totally willing to kill this guy if that's if that's what's going to happen. You know, so it's really fascinating. How the film is able to tell so much, is cram so much storytelling into these like just handful of minutes.
Like his I do want to talk about his performance a little more, because the performance of Anton is really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like exactly the midpoint I would call between this like high, like it's this like looking down from on high perspective of like an angel of death, this impassiveness that you get from somebody who he doesn't care how this goes, he just wants it to be carried out the way it needs to, in a bizarre sort of sense of justice or duty. And he also has this like instability, like a complete psychopath, because everything that sets him off in this scene is like completely non-existent slights. It's the bar, it's the bar, yeah. It's the convenience store owner saying like, haven't seen you around here before, and he's like, what's that supposed to mean? Like, everything is responded with, for someone like me, huh? Yeah, I bet you'd think that. And it's this very sort of assumptive sort of like, I didn't mean anything by it. You didn't mean anything by it, huh? Huh. Like, that, like, psychotic, there's meaning in everything you say, and I'm going to find offense with it, combined with the angel of death impassiveness of, well, you have chosen what you've chosen, is extremely disconcerting as a performance choice, and it works. It really makes for a genuinely kind of scary guy.
Yeah, and on top of that, the proprietor's performance is very important here, because he just shows he does a fantastic job of demonstrating legitimate terror. He is super terrified. And all of his actions, even though he's very like stagnant, he's still like you can feel he is crapping his pants during this scene. You know, like
oh yeah, he progresses from like vaguely nervous to who am I dealing with here, pretty fast.
It's a great interaction where he's like okay, well I better start closing up shop soon. He's like, it's really early in the day. When do you close? Now. We close now. Now is not a time. When do you close?
It's this combination of like, honestly, the proprietor has a very real energy to him.
Yeah, exactly.
He seems so like realistic for how a person in his in this place, position, in this time, of this personality would act.
Yeah.
It genuinely fits a person so well. It feels hard to believe that it's acting. And compare that with Anton's like kind of horrific non-human performance, and you end up with like, it's very just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As a viewing experience, you get a very real sense of just, I shouldn't be watching this. This isn't right. This isn't good.
And there's also Anton brings in more of those elements of like the generational gap, which is a big part of the film, when he talks about when he's like astonished that the proprietor, in his words, married into the convenience store.
Yeah, like again, assigning bizarre amounts of importance to seemingly insignificant things.
He literally chokes on his food.
Yeah, which is like that's the psychosis of like, why is this important to you?
Yeah,
this is nothing. You married into it? this is your wife. It's like, actually, it's my wife's father's place. You married into it.
Yeah.
Well, it's mine. You married into it. Like, he reiterates.
Yeah, exactly. And then the way that he leaves the scene too, where when after the proprietor calls heads, which is foretold by those like those smiley face air fresheners in the background, they're a hint to that. After he calls it correctly. Javier Bardem's character gives him the coin, and he says, "Don't put it in your pocket, because then it'll get mixed up with the rest of the quarters." Which it is, and he walks off.
It's genuinely. It's this stilted.
He gives him like a face, like.
like they're both in on some secret. It's like, it'll get mixed in with the other quarters. No, he says the normal quarters.
Yeah, that's your lucky quarter. Don't put it in your pocket, because then it'll get mixed in with all the other normal quarters. Which it is.
It's such an inhuman performance.
Yeah,
it's genuinely great.
And the details that Anton's character notices, and finds important, they're so bizarre. Like, there's the one part where he takes the quarter, he flips it, he puts it down on the table, and he says, "Do you know what year is put on this corner?" It was like 1988. This coin has been traveling here for 20 years to get to this exact moment. 22 years, yeah.
Or no, I remember.
Something like that.
I can't remember. 78, and it was 22 years, because it was like turn of the millennium or something. Yeah. And it's like, this coin has been traveling to get traveling 22 years to get here for this moment for you. And he's like, okay, sure, whatever you say, sir. Like, that's not how the old man sounds, but it gives you an idea of his mood.
Yeah.
That scene is like, it's a masterclass, but also, as a viewing experience, I never want to see it again, because just watching it once made me feel like so viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like there's a gigantic challenge there in that scene. Like, I think one of the best lines in that scene is when he's talking about like how much have you ever lost in a bet, and he says and when he says when the proprietor asks, what do I have to gain? He's like, you have everything to gain. Yeah, he said, "You've been putting it up your whole life, and now here at this moment." Like so that one line, like, you've been putting this up, your whole life. Your whole life has always been a chance risk, and you've always been putting your life on the line, and now I'm physically doing that, like right here in this moment.
It makes you wonder whether or not the proprietor can tell if he's being threatened or not. Because he's scared, definitely, but that's just because this guy's being weird.
Yeah, that's the actual Hitchcock element to it.
Yeah,
because we
know he's a murderer.
We've seen Javier Bardem kill like 3 people already in this movie, and now he's walking up against this other person, and that person doesn't know it. So that tension is really high there.
Like,
the fact that he walks away is insane. The fact that Javier Bardem does not kill that man makes that scene more impactful than if he did.
Yeah, because from a film perspective, to start a scene that you never intend to complete or follow up on is so insane. But from the perspective of this character, it makes perfect sense. Because he genuinely doesn't care one way or the other.
He's literally just passing through. This is just an interaction that this man chose to have.
Yeah. And we as the audience are just seeing this, like, from the perspective, like, it grants this sense of realism of, you just watched a psychopath walk up to a random person, terrorize them, and leave.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, a serial killer chooses somebody at random every day. How many people do they point at that don't end up getting chosen? And this is one of them. And you just got to, like, you effectively just get to, like, step into this moment in time. And between the realistic reactions of the store owner and the, like, very realistic looking set for a, like, gross little shop in the middle of nowhere, it's got this very sort of, like, gritty, like, disgusting feel to it. It feels like a moment out of time.
Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable.
Mm.
Like, that whole scene has this air of like uncanny realism to it that just kind of leaves you with a bad feeling in your mouth.
It does, yeah.
And that's good filmmaking.
That is very good filmmaking. Now, when I sent you that scene for the first time, it's because we were watching something and a character reminded me explicitly of that. Do you remember what that original was? What the original post was? Why I sent you that?
It was literally just a meme because you were watching a lot of Joel Hover videos.
Yeah, there was something where somebody said friendo. Oh yeah, that was it. It was a Joel Haver video, and it was where he was getting shown an apartment, and in the apartment tour, he's like, this bathroom is perfect for a guy like you, and the whole joke is like throughout the whole thing, Joel Haver's wearing
says that.
He says that.
No, the guy who's showing around the house is like, this bathroom's it's pretty big. It's got a spacious interior, perfect for a guy like me, huh? I wouldn't put it like that, but sure.
Well, he says it once at the very beginning. Perfect. He says it once at the very beginning.
Like he just like
he keeps
it
repeating it.
Okay,
what do you know about me, friend? And he literally says friendo, which is really which creates this exact connection with No Country for Old Men. While Joel Haver is this really kind of like middle height, lengthy really skinny guy wearing a cape.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and whenever he leaves through a door, he blasts the back of it, the back of the cape out with his arms, just punching the fabric out. For a visual, imagine if you punched a shower curtain. That's what he does to his cape.
So I highly recommend watching Coin Toss, No Country for Old Men, followed exactly behind by that one Joel Haver video. I'll look up the name so that way you can find it.
I'm sure it's something like For a Guy Like Me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm almost positive
a guy like
that's what
me.
it's called.
Yeah, what a great and amazing skit. So you definitely watch those two back to back. Perfect for a Guy Like You. So watch Coin Flip and then watch Perfect for a Guy Like You back to back, and you can notice the ridiculous comparison between that amazing comedic short and No Country for Old Men.
A classic.
Yeah, exactly.
What comparison can Socrates have for horse ebooks? Modern memes and classics and classics. Is there truly any difference? Socrates said he truly all that he knows is that he knows nothing. Horse ebook says everything keeps happening all at once. Truly, what is the difference?
So, speaking of amazing comparisons, it's time for the ending segment, Cringe or Nah.
Oh boy.
Where we're going to compare Surf's Up to Wavemania and
your essay,
book puns, and my essay on Coin Toss from No Country for Old Men.
Okay, so first up, Surf's Up to Cringe or Nah.
It goes is it if we were to watch it sober, would it be a cringeful viewing? Because
no.
Alcoholism, it helps get rid of that cringe. It's hard to get uncomfortable.
I think the alcohol made it less boring because there were moments in our alcohol-fueled viewing where it was like, shut up, stop talking, never say anything, shut up! We definitely got there where
I don't want to hear you anymore.
Yeah.
Get out of my brain!
We didn't bring up Paige. Anytime she does anything on screen, anything, the joke is always, get it? 'Cause girl!
She says girl power 20 times.
No, she doesn't. She says it twice because she has no lines.
Yeah, that's fair. Those are her only lines.
Every one of her lines is I'm tough, but that's, get it? Girl! That's it. It's really not great.
No.
And then you have Chicken Joe, who every time he opens his mouth, I want to strangle him a little more. One of those rubber chickens that go like that? I want to do that to his face. I hate Chicken Joe so much because all he does that entire movie is oh man, I hope I don't become a fried piece. I don't want to become an 8-wing set. I don't want to become like my old pal, Fernando Chicken. Which is a reference to Britain's Nando's. Which nobody's gonna get.
If you've never heard of this concept before, there's something called a running joke, where a comedic film will reuse the same sort of joke premise like about 3 times to get maximum comedic value out of it. Surf's Up 2 doesn't have running jokes, because their jokes start walking and then immediately trip and fall on their face.
Yeah,
what would you call that?
No, because it keeps rolling downhill. It keeps happening.
A rolling joke?
I guess. A falling joke.
A falling joke, yeah. They have falling jokes, because he makes that chicken, like, I don't want to become fried chicken joke, like 3 times.
No, like, many more. He ends up making it, like, every 10 minutes of this film. Or more. Because it's this staccato, like, he'll do it once and then do it 3 more times, that same scene.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, I almost ended up my uncle, Fernando Chicken. A real fried set. I can't believe I almost ended up a combo meal. And it's like, shut up! This, like, unbelievable blunt force trauma application of the world's worst puns is absolutely untenable. And, like, that was incredibly offensive while we were drunk. But I get the feeling if we watched it sober, it would just pass over us in this, like, disgusting breath of death. And it would just... I know we've had an episode and one currently, but I get the feeling I can't call this movie cringe.
Yeah.
Because it's worse.
That's exactly what's going to go through my mind.
Even the statistics of being cringe. It's just bad. It's just pain. This is not a cringe movie. I would not recommend anybody watch this on cringe value. It's just nah.
I had a good time. I think we framed it perfectly for our enjoyment. But, yeah, I would never want to think about this movie ever again.
Yeah, after today, I'm going to pretty summarily wipe it from my memory. And if you ever tell me that we've watched Surf's Up 2, I will look at you with a blank mind wipe expression.
Blood pack? Blood pact. It's never happened. Yeah, I mean, you said fish milk too many times, and I'm going to keep on thinking about fish milk. That's going to take me back to Surf's Up 2.
Oh, man. No, he said something like... Fish, you get milk and eggs from the same animal. Get to make an omelet. Something.
Platypus.
Yeah, no.
If you have a platypus, you get milk and eggs from the same animal.
I feel like he said that the same thing about the fish because he was talking about fish milk. It's disgusting. It's bad. So
it's a portable omelet.
Are we gonna allow the application of nah to be a bad thing?
Yeah. I think that's nuanced. I think that's more interesting of a conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
Because cringe means bad, but that doesn't mean nah means good. You know?
True.
Yeah.
Cringe means bad, but cringe can also mean entertainingly bad.
Yeah.
This is nah.
Yeah, that's nah. Just a nah. That's the review. Just 0 out of 10. Nah.
Yeah. 0 out of 10. Nah.
Thanks, IGN.
All right.
Then book puns.
Book puns.
Are book puns cringe or are they nah?
No. No. Yeah, bro, they're pog as I love them.
I love regular puns like dad puns and everything can get defined as cringe, but book puns are just there's something special about them. You know, they've got that.
Yeah, they lack the groan factor.
What is that? Saffron. A little saffron could make this.
Great. Tastes like a. What is that?
Is that based?
I think it's based.
I think it's based. Yeah, good. Yeah. So I think book jokes deserve the title of based.
Totally,
they're
absolutely.
Not cringe. They're very good.
They're unbelievably good.
Have you been able to think of any?
I was supposed to be.
I was wondering if
we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Here.
I know. Just naturally, is there anything that maybe comes to mind? You got one?
How to Get Away with Crimes by Rob DeBank.
That's good. That's really good. There you go. Like, see, they're not that hard to come up with.
No.
But they can be really fun. So yeah, so book puns, that gets a 10 out of 10. That's a based. That's based. And then coin toss from No Country for Old Men. Honestly, you could make an argument that good cringe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
cringe.
that's good cringe, because it definitely feels bad. Mm-hmm. It feels bad to watch, but also that's a good thing. It's meant to do that. That's a success.
Yeah, and you perfectly touched on that when we were talking about our conversation. Like, I would never want to watch that again. Yeah,
it's some people define art as being successful art, quote unquote, when it sets out to make you feel something and succeeds at doing so.
Yeah,
and I think this definitely, by that definition, succeeds at being art.
It's a specific flavor of cringe, but definitely, yeah. I think it can fall in that category. Yeah,
8 out of 10 cringe.
So now this podcast is canceled because we said that Surf's Up 2 wasn't cringe, and that one scene from Old Country for Men was.
Well, yeah, but that's why we applied number values.
Podcast canceled. It's over. Done.
Yeah, throw the whole thing away.
Burn it to a crisp.
Yeah, throw the baby out with the bathwater. This thing sucks. I hate this podcast.
All right.
And
any closing remarks?
Not really.
No?
Man, Surf's Up 2 just, like, burns your brain out.
Memory.
Because, like, it's nothing. It's really nothing.
Well, we've been Podchassis, and we're here to remind you to, clean your browser history. Make sure, have you done that today? You should do that today. You don't want your mom to see all the Fortnite funnies that you have in your backlog. Nobody wants to see that. I'm sure you don't even want to see that. So just make sure to clean your browser history.
Podchassis is a free product produced using royalty-free, Creative Commons, or fair use content. If you would like to contact us for questions, comments, or concerns, please contact us at podcomments@gmail.com. That's POD comments@gmail.com. As always, Podchassis is a labor of love, a love I'm certain that we share with you, the listener.